Hey, everybody on YouTube. Welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast YouTube channel. On this channel, we talk about all things Google AdWords. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, the great Chris Schaefer. We are both Google partners, and thank you for joining the channel. Chris, how are you doing today on this Thursday?
I'm good. See, Google partner right behind me. Jason, where's yours?
Oh, you just wait. You're going
Do you
to be
have
sorry
one?
you asked.
Okay, let me see. There's my. Can everybody see?
Oh, we finally got a flex.
Got a little bit of a flex
I
there.
I thought my screen was broken. That was a serious curve, Chris.
Yeah, my arm was shaking doing that so hard.
Chris, if the little YouTube catch that as a thumbnail option, can I use that one?
I guess
we're on a live air here. Play along. Say yeah.
Sure. Yes. We'll see.
You're gonna be sorry you bashed that Google Partners frame in my face for so many years. I got one coming.
You got a good one. All right. Well, good. You're only,
as I told you by text, I went to Michael's and got it framed, and he goes, "What kind of frame do you want?" And then I pulled out a picture of our show of you on YouTube, and I said, "Whatever makes this guy look bad."
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, Jason has a premier partner banner, so he's taken it even a step beyond. So, anyway, that's.
I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet with you because the premier is in the red area where yours is blue. Mm-hmm. And technically, I could cut mine off right at the point where the premier words end, so you can still see the red, but you don't see the word premier.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have premier, and so I don't want to make you look bad.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I have my Google Premier glass. I
want that so bad. I'll
paperweight.
Buy that. I will buy that for you.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Let's do the podcast first.
All right, let's do the podcast, man. All right. Hey, everybody. Yes, welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. This is the Paid Search Podcast. It's not the Q&A show. I'm not restricted. I can talk about my personal life. I can scream into the microphone. I can be myself. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, why don't you tell everyone about your coaching services?
This is, this is a really special time for Jason every week. It just builds up. Builds up.
Can't take it. I can't take it sometimes, Chris. I see the Skype messages before the show. But you know what, Chris? I was thinking about this morning. It's a little bit hard being smarter than everybody else on the planet.
Oh,
sometimes
that is
you
tough.
would think it's not hard because you're smarter than everybody, but communicating on their level, Chris, it's tough.
Bringing yourself down and talking just to the peasants, and trying to explain what's happening. It's rough. It is rough, and we appreciate that you take a little bit of time each week to come down and bless us with your knowledge. Thank you, Jason, for being here.
You're welcome. This is a great start to the show. So, Chris.
Ignore that. Go ahead.
What did you tell? You told me this morning you were 44 and you're still letting your phone ring on the show. Just kidding, guys. 44. He's 30. He's 37, I think.
Thank you.
Not old enough to be old, but definitely not young enough to be young. So, everybody, today we are talking about what many people mistake AdWords for, SEO. We're going to talk about SEO, the big bad cousin in the room to pay-per-click. So before we talk about mistakes that the SEO mindset brings to Google AdWords, Chris, I just want to have a public service announcement for SEO and to let everyone know where we're coming from. SEO is a good thing. SEO is good for a business. For sure, you should work on your SEO. For sure, it makes sense to get Google traffic from Google organically. And SEO and AdWords can coexist. I'm big into SEO, Chris, for myself. I really like learning about it. Couple resources for the pay-per-click people, Chris. Eric Ward, ericward.com. He was a legendary link builder, legendary online publicist. Unfortunately, Chris, he has passed away within the last year. But his website is still up, ericward.com. That's where I learned everything I know about SEO. And then also Moz, M-O-Z, Chris, is a good resource. Between those two websites, you can learn everything you need to know about SEO. couple other positives, Chris, how you can use them together. SEO people can get ideas, keywords to target with their SEO campaigns from the search terms report, things people actually type in the Google AdWords campaign. And then if you do especially well in your Google AdWords campaign in certain areas, certain suburbs, then you can go after that with your SEO campaigns and try to rank highly in those areas. And going the other way, you can get good core AdWords ideas from SEO reports. So they can work well together. But on today's show, we're going to talk about mistakes that the SEO mindset brings to AdWords when people who are primarily SEO people do AdWords for the first time. We both run into this thinking a lot. They're very, very similar. It's about getting traffic from Google showing up on page one, but they're very, very different. So Chris, this is something that's always on your mind. You've been passionate about this topic with me for years. What made you even think about this? How often do you interact with people who have that SEO mindset when you're dealing with clients?
Yeah, so this usually happens when I work with an agency or I'm inheriting an account that was formerly managed by someone who did someone's website, their SEO, and they went ahead and took on their PPC as well, right? I mean, it's kind of a do-it-all guy, and he just covers everything. Or an agency that's mainly SEO, and they also do PPC. Right. So it often occurs with non-specialists, and it's something I can look at and immediately know, okay, this is an SEO person.
Wow, and that's interesting.
Because they always have the same ideas, and we're going to go through 5 things that I almost always see when I see an SEO expert taking on AdWords. And Jason, you offset things a lot with, the positives, and SEO is important. But guys, I mean, I chat with you on Twitter. I chat with you on Facebook. Some of you I even talk to on the phone. I care about our listeners, and because of that, I'm going to give you some criticisms. Okay, so I'm not bringing you down. I'm not talking bad about SEO, but I'm going to talk bad about what the SEO ideas of what PPC is, what AdWords, how AdWords works. That's what I'm criticizing here.
Gotcha. So, Chris, that is fascinating that you can look at an AdWords account for the first time, and when it's not set up correctly, be able to tell that it was specifically someone with an SEO mindset who set up those campaigns. So that's fascinating. So your first mistake here that you list out that the SEO mindset makes when it comes to Google AdWords is that they focus on volume, not precision. They take the 500 keywords in your SEO research and they dump that into Google AdWords. So what do you mean here by focusing on volume and not precision?
Okay, so whenever I look at an AdWords campaign, one of the first things I see when I decide, okay, this is the wrong approach someone's taking, is I immediately see hundreds. Let's talk about a campaign that's spending $1,000 a month. Okay, Jason, you have a campaign that's spending $1,000 a month. You would not expect to see 300, 400, 500 keywords, right?
Oh, not yet, not at all. I mean, we're talking. What would I want to see in 1,000 a month? Maybe 6 ad groups, 5 to 10 keywords an ad group.
There you go. Yeah.
50
because the fact is, yeah, absolutely. Because the fact is there's only certain exact terms that are going to get any traffic. Right. And the rest are going to be filled in by modified broad and phrase and all these super long tail type of stuff. While it looks good on paper to be targeting long tail, in truth, it comes down to just those core terms that work well for you. Even a campaign that's been going for several years, you're still going to have a pretty focused set of keywords that just continue to work well.
We all know you're the king of HVAC, even though you're not allowed to run your campaigns these days. And why don't you give us an example of some SEO long tail keywords that you would see in an account built by an SEO mindset kind of person versus the kind of very precise keywords you would want to see in an HVAC AdWords. So what are some of those SEO long tail keywords you don't want to mess with?
Well, that's actually the second point where we'd actually be getting ahead of the point I'm making right now. Jason, I have the outline in front of you. I mean,
Well, you're talking about 100 keywords in one ad group. Is that just, are we not giving examples? That's just the main problem here.
This is
guys,
the volume. We are not rehearsed. This is live, and I'm disagreeing. I don't want to talk about that yet. So basically, let me define what the problem is here. The problem is that you have hundreds of keywords in one ad group. I'm not talking about the fact that they're all long tail. That's another point that I'll talk about in a minute. But I'm talking about you have one ad group that has 60, 70, 80, 300 keywords in it. And you basically took your SEO research, put it into one ad group, and dumped it in there and wrote two ads.
It's not so much about long tail, it's about words that don't go together in different ad groups.
Yeah, it's volume.
So why do you think they do that, Chris?
I'm going to put quarters into this AdWords machine. I'm going to throw a whole bunch of keywords into it, and I'm just going to get volume. I'm going to try and get maybe a little bit of good traffic, but mainly it's just, I'm just going to check the box and say, done, I did AdWords.
And you think they do that specifically versus other kinds of people who don't really know what they're doing in AdWords because their whole goal is just always get traffic, get traffic?
I think it's the get traffic mindset. I think it's, a volume mindset, a click mindset, because in SEO, clicks are free. But, when you're presented with an SEO research spreadsheet, and you have hundreds and hundreds of keywords, how do you know which ones are really going to work in AdWords? Right. So it's easier to just say, and just dump it in there. So the first step is don't take your SEO research and translate it directly into AdWords, because that's not going to be the way that it works. Go back and listen to our other podcasts, and you'll hear the right way to build an AdWords campaign.
That's a good point, Chris, because I've done SEO before, and you don't think about ad copy because there's no ad with SEO. It's just your organic listing shows up there. So who cares about grouping them into different ad groups, where the downside of that is they're all going to be seen with the same ad, because in the SEO mindset, the ad doesn't even exist. So Chris, the next mistake is that you see long tail keywords, and you're talking very long tail here, 5+ words in a phrase, being targeted in the Google AdWords account, and people are missing those core phrase and modified broad that actually get traffic but are not super long tail. So why don't you give us some SEO example keywords that don't really work well with AdWords?
Okay, so I once heard a story about this guy who was doing an excellent job for a realtor. Okay, and the realtor was really concerned about the cost per click, about too much competition. So took the route that someone thinks that they can avoid competition by going with quote unquote long tail keywords, because there's less clicks on these and less competition, so I can really isolate my traffic. So instead of going after what you and Jason and you and I would know would work well, something like realtor in Houston or realtor in New York, and instead going after something like 3-bedroom, 2-bath under 250,000 in Houston.
Right.
That is a very, very specific phrase that will probably garner a low search volume. And if it's not low search volume, it's going to get a couple of impressions, maybe a month.
But as an SEO person who I've been in my past, you can't tell me that once a year someone is not searching 3-bedroom, 2-bath under 250 grand in Houston. Someone is searching that, and if they're searching that, I want to be there. And if that person turns into a commission for me, that's $12,000, Chris. So should I not create a resource page that lists out all the homes that I have that I'm the realtor on that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and put that as the title of the page and get that $12,000 commission a year? That's the SEO mindset right there.
That's an excellent point. And I have to always take it back to the same thing that I get, I always come back to, why don't I work harder? Why don't I do more? Why don't I have more and more keywords and add more and more ad groups? The point is, somebody has to manage this campaign. Somebody has to log in on Monday morning and look at this. Right. And when it comes down to it, when you over manage your campaign, when you make something so complex and so difficult to even focus your attention on a moderately spending campaign. This realtor in Houston's probably spending $1,000, $1,500 a month, something like that. Maybe they're really going all out and doing $3,000. There's no reason for you to have hundreds or thousands of keywords and going after these one in a million searches.
Right. So here's a breakdown here for you, Chris. You've got these 1 in a million searches, like 3-bedroom, 2-bath, under 250 grand in Houston. That, yes, it might get searched for a couple times a year, but in AdWords, Chris, you can't really target that, because if you put in that word, I guarantee you your status is going to say low search volume, and Google's not going to be able to show your ad on that search. So you could do 3-bedroom, 2-bath phrase match or broad match modified, or 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes, but then you're going to be getting way, way too much traffic. And so there's not really a good way to target those ones that people don't search for a lot, like super long tail like that. Here's another SEO mindset, Chris, and you're talking about it with this next tip is SEO is an 18-wheeler diesel truck. You're trying to knock out everything. PPC is a little red Corvette. You're trying to get very granular. So a good example that I think of when it comes to this, Chris, is the other type of SEO keywords you don't target in AdWords, which are the super high searched, but not relevant to your campaign. So I'll give you an example. As a plumber, Chris, if a plumber comes to you as a client and he has a background in SEO, he might tell you, hey, we made a service page for the search, how to fix a leaking toilet, because we show up locally when someone searches for that, and it's a really good way to get traffic to our site. And then what would you tell him if he said he wants to target that keyword? That gets a ton of volume, by the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, the idea is you have to find a balance between the volume and the precision. In SEO, there's every reason in the world to go after the most volume that you can possibly get. But with PPC, this is the kind of thing that every time you get a click, you're spending money.
That's the key. You're paying for it.
Yeah, you're paying for it. That is the key,
because yes, I want traffic from people searching how to fix a leaking toilet, because 1 out of every 50 might actually call me and not just want self-help. And for SEO, you're getting it for free. But AdWords, the key, Chris, you're paying for those 50 clicks that produce one measly call.
Yeah. And, the other side of things, this is, and this is point number 3, Jason, as you said, SEO is an 18-wheeler diesel truck, and it takes time to get that thing rolling, to get it going. And once it does, it can really deliver a payload, right? It can really offer a lot of traffic, a lot of volume. But, PPC, when someone comes to me and let's say I get an account built in that same day, they'll get traffic that same day. And it can be good traffic. It can be results instantly. But every time that little button is clicked, you're spending money. So you have to change your mindset from volume to precision, because you can instantly eat up budget very quickly with no results in PPC.
Chris, can I drop a nugget for our AdWords manager listeners and agency people?
Right in our ear. Let's do it.
Are we ready for the nugget?
Mm-hmm.
When you're selling AdWords, Chris, and you can write this down, put a little chapter in your book.
I am. I got my pen.
We all know this book that it's been 2 years. I don't see a book yet. When you're selling AdWords and a client comes to you and says, hey, I'm trying to decide between SEO and PPC, what should I do? You don't bash SEO. You don't try to take them away from that, because they want to go after it. It makes sense. You should do SEO. But going to your take a long time to start the truck versus the little red Corvette's off and running on day one, yes, you should do both, prospective client. SEO takes a little bit of time, but once it starts working, it's great. But you know what? AdWords can work today. We can get ads up and get you traffic today. So we recommend at least doing AdWords while you're ramping up your SEO. And then, of course, what happens, Chris? AdWords works well, and they're going to stick with AdWords year after year. So is that a little nugget to sell with? Or what?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think there's a wrong answer. You've said it before, the best marketing is going to be a bit more diversified than just PPC, especially for some industries. PPC alone is not going to work. You need other areas.
A rehab facility right now.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you're a plumber, or if you're a garage door repair guy, you're going to start having problems in the next year, because Google's going to say, hey, you don't have the license properly, or we don't like you. Something like that. But all right. So that's number Chris, 3. Let's go with number 4.
Tip here. And I want to dig into this, because I want to see what you're saying here, because I haven't thought about this much. SEO appeals to bots, to crawlers, to spiders, all those nice buzzwords. But AdWords works better when you first focus on the human reading the ad. Why don't you break that down?
Okay. Yeah. So when you build an SEO page, I've seen so many pages that are written keyword heavy, right? They're written as if, you know, they're trying to use the most vocabulary and check off every area and simile within their category that they can, right? These long headlines or this H1 tag at the very beginning of the page that doesn't really incite me as a user to understand exactly what they're selling. It's more of an idea or a large picture, an umbrella of all. Right. You have just found the secret to the universe. We can deliver it all. Call now. Why the heck? Tell me one secret you do, and then maybe I'll be interested in that first secret.
Many people debate if you need a plumber. There's upsides and downsides to calling a plumber. We're going to give you arguments for both, and then link to great resources for those. I've seen that all the time, the ups, the yeses and nos.
Tell me, you have a plumber in my area. Tell me how much it costs, and tell me you can get them to me in the next 30 minutes. Right. I'll call you in. I mean, that's a great. So the idea is that you translate from focusing on, keyword focused and SEO heavy type of headlines and phrasing in your landing page and in your keywords and your ad copy. And instead, you approach a human for the things that the human wants to hear. You know, what is it? How much does it cost? And why do I need it?
Based on their search, based on that one search.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, Chris, that kind of plays a role with the fit tip here and talking about PPC landing pages. Focus on the bottom of the funnel. Focus on getting that person to call in, hire you, and get the ball rolling with the lead information there. But with SEO, a lot of times people are trying to stuff a lot of different topics on one page to make sure lots of different kinds of keywords are being hit. Why don't you break down the difference between AdWords landing pages focusing at the bottom of the funnel versus SEO pages just trying to pick up all sorts of different things?
Yeah, Jason, to take something from you, I've got a nugget to drop. We're basically gonna have a happy meal at the end of this because we're just gonna have lots of nuggets laying all over the place. But here's another nugget. Did you know that there is no keyword density percentage to hit on your AdWords landing page? A PPC landing page.
I did not know that.
You did too. You're playing up the part, but that's okay. The idea that you need to have the keyword in your headline, that you need to have the keyword repeated at a rate of 1 to 3, something like that. It's ridiculous because you're losing, back to number 4, you're losing the human element and you're going down to the robotic, bot SEO thinking.
Right.
What you really need is to, again, communicate to the very bottom of the funnel, the very point that someone's searching for at that moment. If they want a realtor, don't say, we are a realtor and we can do everything you need. Call us. Right. I don't care. You didn't tell me one reason why. What you would instead say is, I'm a realtor in this area. I have great results. I will do these things for you that sets me apart from other realtors. Call me now. The final thing being, here's the call to action. Here's what you do to take the next step. Call me now, or send me your phone number over text, or fill out this form or something like that. Book an appointment. Right. That's what you need to do to reach a human.
As opposed to call Houston Realtor as opposed to call Realtor Houston TX now. Something
there you go. Totally because that headline is completely a DKI headline, right? It's been filled in based on what the person searched, so that they type in something, they see it in the ad, then they see it in the landing page, and somehow that's supposed to convince them that
they know what search they did. They read the ad copy, and now they want to just get to the point. Call the number, solve their problem.
Treat them as a human. Give them a little respect as a human, that they can make intelligent decisions based on the actual information that you provide as a professional in your area.
Right. Now, Chris, you have a final bonus tip here for the SEO mindset when it comes to changing over to the AdWords side of things and thinking like an AdWords advertiser. So what is this final tip here?
Okay. So this one might come across as a bit of a rant. Okay. But There are no shortcuts in PPC. Okay. Because you have a UI system where you can create ad groups, where you can change your settings, where you can adjust bids, you should not take those abilities that you have to change settings and all this geographic targeting, all that, as a shortcut. And I'm going to give you one example. A shortcut would be, Chris, I don't want to do the keyword research. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use the word plumber, and then I'm going to target Houston. And bam, now Google's going to show whenever someone does a Houston plumber search.
Right.
That you've basically tried to make a shortcut by saying, well, I want lots of traffic, and Google's going to just know that I want just Houston plumbers because I'm targeting this area. The settings, geographic settings, are not a replacement for the hard work that it takes to build a successful AdWords campaign. Right? You don't use these features as if they are the end of the process. They're merely just accessories to the process. I'll give you one more example. I see a lot of this because it's so easy to do, and it's just copy paste. DKI, dynamic keyword insertion in your ads. Okay, headline 1, DKI ad, and it says, what are the DKI little phrasing, and just for reference, this is the feature in AdWords that will automatically replace your text with whatever the keyword is that triggered that search.
Right.
And I see people using DKI in every single one of their ads. And just this week, I was talking to a guy, and I said, look at your DKI ads. They have horrible click-through rate. And you did one ad where you wrote it like it was to a human, and it had like a 13% click-through rate. I mean, it's just a drastic difference because his keywords are trash. It didn't look good at all to the person reading it. It looked like it was delivered by a bot,
right,
intended for bots, and the people don't react to it. So DKI and settings and using bidding software in order to make mass changes, automatically, and writing scripts, all this kind of stuff. It looks fancy. It looks impressive. But in the end, nothing replaces just hard work, because a campaign that you build well from the beginning will pay off for years.
Well, it looks familiar, I think, Chris. And the more we talk about the SEO mindset today, the more I keep thinking the SEO mindset sure sounds like the developer mindset, the web designer, programmer mindset. It's a very technical, computer-related mindset, whereas AdWords is more human, more kind of like you're doing a lot of improv. You're looking at what people, how they search for things, how they feel about things, and coming up with your own unique ways of doing it. Whereas SEO, there's a lot of rules and it's a lot of programming, H1 tag, description tag, backlinks, follow links, no follow links, all that kind of technical stuff. And I think we got to the bottom line here, Chris, to me at least, is when you're coming to AdWords from SEO, try really hard to drop the technical mindset, the rule following mindset, and really broaden up your opportunities in the way you think about things, and think more of you have kind of limitless opportunities with what you want to do. You have limitless control. So use that control and really start thinking like a human and not like for robots or spiders or that kind of thing. And Chris, as someone who's done both and really wasn't that good at SEO, because I don't like dealing with all the technical little this and that, no follow this and equal sign that and all that. I see the difference now, and I see why I'm more drawn to AdWords for those reasons. So I think this episode will serve a lot of good for people, Chris.
Yeah, I hope this is something that you guys, you have someone that that does web development and they try and dabble in AdWords. Send this podcast to them. Send them the YouTube link or whatever, and I think this could be useful for a lot of people because I see it happen a lot to the point that I recognize it. And, I'm not looking for everyone to hire me. Jason, I know you can't handle everyone in the world. Maybe you'll leave a few for me to manage on my own. But I know what we really want to do. The message that we're trying to communicate here is that we want to help the AdWords community, help the business owners out there, the agencies and the freelancers to do a better job in AdWords. And that's what we're trying to communicate here. Love you guys, SEO out there. You know, you guys are the peanut butter to our jelly, right?
And Google's the bread.
Google's the bread. They
surrounding us.
They mash us. They surround us with their textury softness.
Chris, thank you for this insightful episode. Why don't you buzz off now? I'm going to close the show here. Everybody, thanks for listening. We have the PPC questions and answers show now up on all your podcast players and on the YouTube channel. Send us your questions at paidsearchpodcast.com. Guys, come on. We are at 70 reviews. It is on iTunes. It has been a slog, to say the least, from 60 to 70 reviews. I have become an old man in that time, and I want to hit 100 reviews. Get on there. Give us a rating. Give us a review. Tell us what you think about Chris's t-shirts.
Well, I know that on the podcast, really, they can't even see it, but
it's not, you don't have to picture
some of you out there try and leave reviews on the system that you use. I know I was reading a question we had the other day from someone who was going to try and leave a review on Stitcher or Spotify. You know, if the system you listen on accepts reviews, you know, that's fine too. I have to say, I know we've had people that have installed iTunes on their Windows. That's what I call a true fan. On their Windows system, and literally had to go wash their hands afterwards. And we appreciate that. But if you don't use iTunes, I just want to clarify, we're just looking for you guys to share and review us so that other people will find that this is a trustworthy resource. So I know I didn't buzz off like you said. I know Jason's mad. So he's
like, say the same thing I just said, but then say it again. It's like, all right, I got to live a life here.
All right, so that's it, guys. Jason's mad. He's left the building. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.